showtime, so put your feet up for an hour and tune into the Red and Blue Review. Nick, Ian, Jill and the crew are waiting to hear from you, so get those comments in.
Ladies and gentlemen, a very good evening and a warm welcome to the Red and Blue Review. My name is Nick Philpott, for those of you who don't know, or you couldn't care less anyway. I'm soon going to be joined by the most Atlanta we have. And, well, I suppose we better kick off with the big man himself, the great man, Joe Holyoke. Where you been?
Well, obviously not been very well. So,
Stop making excuses.
Back every now and then.
Good to see you, man. Good to see you. Also joining me is my. But I'm going to go further than this and say my co-presenter. Okay, my co-host, Ian Noble. Hello, mate.
Evening, Nick. Evening, everyone. Great to see you back in the hot seat tonight, Nick. Means I can relax a bit and go free fall, can't I? You know, say what I like.
Well, you normally do. Okay, and Stato himself, Paul Gear, is with us, ladies and gentlemen. Good evening, Paul. How are you, mate?
Evening, Nick. Evening, everyone. Yeah, I'm all good after yesterday. It was a great day, great result, and a perfect springboard to a very important time ahead in our massive fixture ahead against Wolves.
Did you say massive head? Did you just say? Because your massive head was a bit red.
It was a little bit warm yesterday. I mean, I did have a hat, but I still didn't escape the sun. I think I must have got a little bit of heat stroke and sunburn yesterday. I think most of the away crowd who didn't have headwear because it was one of the hottest games I think I've ever been at. It was just pounding, but the team rose to the heat. And
on that subject, I did notice that, and I also read on social media today some people weren't very well as a result of what you just said. So if anybody out there was at the game yesterday and they were poorly yesterday, we're sending you our best wishes and hope a drop of water sorted you out. That was a hot one for you. And it's balmy in it. It's only a few weeks ago. We sat in freezing cold at Sellers Park.
Oliver Glasner said in his one of his post-match press conferences, I hope all the fans are okay and that they were using some sun protection. So, you know, he was on it. He was tuning into our suffering as we stood in the sun, stand in the rain, stand in the sun. We are South London's number one. Very appropriate yesterday. We didn't even sing that yesterday, did we? It was bloody hot. Cool.
But he's in tune with the Palace fan base and everything to do with Crystal Palace. So we haven't got much to talk about, lads. So I'm going to wrap the show up there. There's bugger all to chat about. Ladies and gentlemen, wherever you are watching in the world or even listening back on the podcast after the show, Joe Holyoke is in the chat. He wants to know, or he wants to read out all your comments. What are you planning to do on Saturday? Don't you shake your head at me, young man. Okay, how dare you? Okay, where are you going to be, ladies and gentlemen, on Saturday? I know you're going to Wembley, obviously, but where do you plan to spend your pre-match time? Are you coming to join us in Covent Garden? Okay, because Covent Garden is now the new Trafalgar Square, as we know. So for obvious reasons, there was a bit of a confusion. So Covent Garden takeover. Cup final, they're meeting at 11:30. Please, ladies and gentlemen, if you're going to Covent Garden, as I did last time, please let's represent Palace in a better light than we did last time. Have a look at the picture that's on screen, folks. Okay, if you're watching back on or listening back on the podcast, I am showing you a pile of rubbish left in the middle of Covent Garden. Take it home with you, or better still, take some bin liners with you, as I plan to do. Bag it and bin it. Do the right thing. Let's make Crystal Palace Football Club the envy of the footballing world, please. Let's do our duty. Let's look after Covent Garden, which is in its own right is a beautiful place. Let's not destroy it like we did last time, because I'll be quite honest with you, if I had any hairs on the back of my neck, they were standing up with embarrassment when I left Covent Garden last time. Please, footballing Crystal Palace community, let's do the right thing on Saturday. Let's make everybody say, look what those fans did, okay, and be proud to be Palace. Please. That's my little moan over. Anyway, we've got quite a bit to go through tonight, obviously. So in the chat, give us as much information as you're planning to do. I'm going to start off, before I hand over to Ian, with distance travellers. I am aware of three, not one, but three gentlemen, Palace fans, who are coming back from Australia just for the game. Andy Hopper, I managed to secure him a ticket this afternoon, and he's going to be flying back on Thursday. My son Matthew is flying back from Cairns also on Thursday, and our very own Aaron Myers has already touched down. Myers, if you're out there somewhere and you got the link, okay, jump on and say hello to everybody. Tell us all about your trip back, because it's superb. Well done, and you are to be applauded. Is there anybody? Is it even possible? I don't know, boys. Tell me. Is there anybody travelling any further than those three guys?
You can't get much further than Australia, can you? So, unless you're coming from the South Pole or something. But Gavin's coming from America again, isn't he, Paul? Gav's coming over from New York State, so he'll be over. He came over for the semi-final, and he's come over for the final.
I'm on the 909 from Caulston. Does that count? No,
it doesn't. No.
Might take us long with our train network.
I know a few people that act like they're from another planet, but I don't know.
Okay, well, let's crack on with yesterday, because quite frankly, I couldn't believe what I was watching. And no, I didn't go to the game, but I saw every kick of it, and it was just like men and boys, really, wasn't it? I've got all the report in front of me. I'm not going to bother with it. I know a man that was there. You can tell us firsthand, and he's going to talk us through all our talking points of yesterday's great result, our historic result at the London Stadium. Sorry, London Stadium, the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. Ian, no, hang on, before we go, Gel's already in. What you found, Gel?
I haven't found anything. Before we start, I mean, we've got a pile of people in the comments already. Can I just give a few shout outs?
Yeah, obviously, why not?
Just before we start. So Tom Samuels, Joan Wills, Ian Roberts, Rob Cranfield, Christopher Thompson, Jordan O'Day, Mark Callahan, James Convey, John Knox. Hello, John. You always send me messages. Always very nice to hear from you. Phillips von David, or David, you never know these days with a name like that. Nathan Burr, Rob Donovan, Dawn Palace, Andy Hopper. There he is. Evening.
There
fellas.
he is. I've got your ticket, big man.
Australia. Paul Holden, David Campion, Leon Saunds, Rich T. So, Monty 1964, Ian James, Atherley, Keith Parker. Graham O'Neill, Ethan Graham. George Wagwu was there as well. It's nice to hear from you, George. So basically, it's the usual suspects, really. Nothing else better to do than get terrorised by us.
Terrorised by us. Then let's get terrorised by Ian Noble, who's going to talk us through yesterday's result.
Yeah, nice to see Phillips von David yesterday. He's mentioned in the chat already, but he said nice to see Ian and Paul yesterday. Yeah, good to see you, mate, as well, and to enjoy the sunshine yesterday with you. I couldn't quite believe yesterday, and I think back on yesterday's game, and I don't think I've ever seen such a one-sided first half that's resulted in so fewer goals at the end of the day. Glasner, in his post-match, he talked about the fact that the game should have been done and dusted by half-time, and he's not wrong there. He talked about the last 20 minutes were a little bit sloppy, and I think we were. I think we were probably just a little bit bored by that stage. And he also talks about the fact that if we're just 3 or 4% below our best, then it makes a huge difference. And he manages the detail, does Oliver Glasner, doesn't he? He really manages the detail. And the best preparation, of course, for a Wembley final is to go into it with confidence, having won a game of football like we did yesterday. So, if you look back on yesterday, it really couldn't have gone much better unless we'd won 4 or 5-0, maybe. Let's have a look at we've got the lineups there, Nigel. So, Paul, we were talking about this before the game. What was the main take that you took away from this lineup? What was the thing that stood out for you when you saw it, first of all?
Well, yeah, obviously it's usual back line and usual front line, but obviously the midfield now, he said in his press conference that Adam Walton was not going to play. He's hoping, obviously, he's got reintegrated into training today, and then we'll train fully on Wednesday, which will give him a chance to play. So, obviously, Kamada's been played in the semi-finals, played recently. So, I was quite interested to see Lerma and Hughes both playing. To my mind, I think he was probably giving them both a chance to audition for that second spot if Walton couldn't make it next week. So, but yeah, it's giving them minutes, and other than that, it's a pretty strong team to go in 6 days before a cup final. We'll come to this later, Nick. I don't know, but out of the audition, then who won that audition for you between
Hughes and Lerma in the middle of the park yesterday.
Well, I'll come to that in a second, but
Yeah.
I think what was the interesting part was that he didn't make wholesale changes.
Absolutely.
On that lineup, he could have easily put in 5 or 6 squad players quite happily, okay, just to rest them ahead of the final. His philosophy is keep them fresh, keep them playing, keep them ready for the next game, and that's exactly what he proved for the semi-final, and he's just done it in the final. In my mind, who won it? Who won that audition? I would say probably Hughesy in my mind, and I don't think he's got to be up there with one of the players of the season. If we were to choose player of the season right now, I don't know where I would cast my vote on.
Okay, we'll come to that one later. Hughes can obviously deliver a brilliant dead ball from the right corner flag as well, can't he? And he did that a few times yesterday. A few people agreeing with you in the chat. Jason Green says Hughes' no yellow card was the main highlight yesterday. Yeah, good shout, mate. So I've got written down in my notes here, guys. I've got 10 instances in the first half where we could and should have scored, maybe. Now, we're never going to score 10, are we, maybe in a half, but it could have been 4 or 5 quite easily. Before we even had the ball in the back of the net, Munoz across deep from the right-hand side to Mateta at the far post, and it was a half a chance. And then the second one is the Sarr goal. Now, I think we need to have a long look at this and talk about it. And I think I know what the majority of views in the chat is going to be. But is this offside?
Yeah.
For me, I cannot believe that this was given as offside. And when you look at the next image, Nigel, this one here, Mateta's feet are clearly in his own half. And the boy 24 is playing him on. And yet it's his armpit that's playing him offside here. Let's move it on. Let's talk about the goal itself before we come back to this offside or onside. Brilliant ball through to Mateta. He looks up, he plays it square to Eze, who again, knows where the Palace players are around him. I think one of the things Glasgow's got them doing really, really well. They know exactly where everyone else is. He plays it wide to Munoz, who delivers a delicious ball across the 6-yard box for Sarr to tap in. It was a brilliant team goal. And I think more than anything else, it's a shame because, it could have been team goal of the season. It was a brilliant effort. And we all thought we'd scored. We couldn't see any reason why it would be disallowed until VAR intervened. And I think without the automated offside, that's probably given. I think if that's a guy sitting in Stockley Park looking at the screens, he doesn't rule that out. What do other people think?
Well, you're right. It's the automated offside that gave that ruling, which goes to show you that it already is not flawless. Okay, there's issues with it. Okay, and they said they tested it and tested it and tested it. We know there's issues with VAR. That's down to interpretation and human error. That's not human error. That's machine error, and they got it wrong. I'm sorry, but they got it wrong. Joe, your thoughts on the automated offside?
I'm just bored of people tinkering with very simple laws. I mean, both feet in our half. I just think that common sense should have said, you can't be offside. I mean, what they're doing basically is saying that you can't try and spin defenders now. You can literally be behind them, but you're in front of them. I don't understand, or you're in front of them, but you're behind them. Whatever way you want to look at it, I just think that they've. But we suffered twice yesterday through idiotic VAR decisions, one automated, and then the absolute, which is Ian's going to explain again in a minute, or I think the worst one, the absolute worst one.
So, look, Paul, do you want to say a word on this?
Yeah, I mean, the rule is it's the base. Your offside. The limit of your offside is the base of your armpit. Now, I mean, a few years ago in the COVID year, I remember Patrick Bamford got a goal disallowed against us because his hand was offside when he was pointing where he wanted the ball played, and that's what prompted the change to be like the shirt sleeve rule. Now, okay, if you're going to say that your armpit is where your offside line is, how's an automated system or a line going to judge it? Because they're going by a shirt, and if you've got too big a shirt, you screw yourself. But it's as Joe says, I think if they've got to look at the rule. If any part of you is in your own half, you should be exempt because it's crazy. But yeah, it's one of those, isn't it? It's the rule, and it's a millimetre there. It's pathetic, but sadly, that's where we are.
And, at the end of the day, it didn't matter yesterday. But look, for me, it's not offside, and it should have been given as on. If you're saying differently in the chat, you're wrong. Sorry, Joe.
Just quickly, I know you're saying it doesn't matter. It matters to me because that should be 1-0. And again, like I said, the other one that you're going to describe in a minute, the other VAR, that's 2. Then we scored 2. Should have scored 3 or 4 more. We literally could have humped Spurs yesterday. 2-0, absolutely flattered them. But I've been saying for ages, Ian, that we deserve the way we've been playing to to thrash somebody. I mean, we thrashed them 2-0, but we should have thrashed them 5 or 6-0.
Yeah.
And anyone who's, like you said, says anything else, they are wrong.
Joe, when I say it doesn't matter, I don't mean to say it's insignificant. All I'm saying is it didn't matter in as far as the result is concerned at the end of the day, No goal.
Before you carry on, sorry to interrupt. Just want to let everybody know that's watching us and not watching the under-21s. It's the 57th minute, and Palace are drawing 1-1 at Selhurst against Southampton. And what is the game again, Paul?
It's the under-21 semi-final. So
that's right.
Yeah. So is it Selhurst? Is it? We're up against that, are we tonight? I didn't realise.
Yeah, we're up against.
I knew they were playing, but I didn't know it was at Selhurst. So good for them.
It's live. I'm watching it live instead of listening to you. It's much more interesting, even with the sound off.
Very good. Right, I'll try and make this a bit more entertaining. Then I'll do my best. Tottenham really got one back, nearly went in front. Really, shortly after that, because Hughes lost possession on the edge of the box. He was robbed by Kulusevski, and his shot was blocked. So it was again half a chance. The third decent chance was a Mitchell cross. Now, we've bemoaned Tyrick Mitchell's crossing on this podcast previously, but he got an excellent cross from the left. It was deep, and Munoz's effort was parried. The keeper dealt with it, and I think that might have been the one that Mateta was following up on. He sort of jumped on the ball. Next, we had a corner from the left-hand side. Eze, it was deep to the far post. Mark Gay, he got his head on it. Sarr was involved before finding its way through to Mateta, and he had his effort well saved by the Tottenham keeper. Again, another really good corner routine, and getting ourselves on the end of those was fantastic. Shortly after that, Mateta fed Munoz. Munoz was a constant threat down the right-hand side. How they didn't do something and change their plan to pick him up, again, was frankly ridiculous. And this time, he put his head down, he put his foot through it, and he hit the bar, beat the keeper by a distance. And that would have been a beautiful goal if that had gone in. It really was an excellent effort. Then Munoz passed to Jean-Philippe Mateta, who was in an offside position. This one, again, he would have been better to shoot. Why he felt he had to pass that one, maybe he shot the previous one, didn't want to be too greedy, but he definitely had a better opportunity to score than Mateta ever did. And Mateta was offside anyway when he received the ball and the offside decision was given. Shortly after that, Lerma fed Mateta and the ball was saved by the keeper again. Then Eze had a shot from distance and that was deflected for a corner. Corner comes in from Hughes on the right-hand side. This is the one that you're talking about, Gel, and it comes in from the right-hand side from Hughesy. It's a Lacroix header. It's at the far post, and it just brushes Mark Gahey's upper arm and goes in. But because it brushed his arm on the way in, it's not given. It's handball. So, correct decision on this one, or do we think VAR's got that one right?
No. Sorry. So you can see from that freeze frame now that Gay's not looking. Look, there's another thing, right? If that's a shot or it's a smack on the arm from an opposing player at a defender, right, and it's from that close, you're deemed that you can't, you can be seen either one or two ways. Either he couldn't get his arm out of the way, and it was in a natural position because he was jumping up or whatever for the header, because their goalkeeper came and missed for absolutely most of the game anyway. So there was no surprise that he missed that by a country mile and allowed two of our players to basically have a free header. But to hit him on the back, I mean, if he'd have hit him in the, on the arm and then gone in sideways, he ain't got a clue. He don't even have a clue about that. I mean, it is just ridiculous that these idiots are. This is why I think the VAR that can't have been thought up by footballers. It's been thought up with by I don't know. I can only just it's the monkeys and Shakespeare or whatever. I can't. It's ridiculous. Why aren't we? It's VAR. Someone is a legit question to everybody watching and you guys as well. Was VAR? Has it been put together with actual real footballers that have played the game?
Of course it hasn't.
Absolutely
that's why it's
not.
so crap. That's why it's literally so crap.
I think Mr. Gear wants a word. If you can just pause for breath, Jill, for a moment. Cool.
Sadly, it's the rule. If it goes, the handball is irrelevant. If the ball goes in off your arm, whether you mean it or not, it's. So we would have wanted it ruled out if it was the other. It doesn't make it right. It's a ridiculous rule, but it's the rule. And in the other way, if it had been the other way, if a defender who wasn't even looking stop the goal, would we have wanted a penalty? And you would. And sadly, as Joe is right, it's a ludicrous rule, but it is the rule. It's VAR's. It's just fine.
I can accept this one more than I can accept the first one. I love Quinton. I'm trying to read your name. It's just gone through. Quinton
Solden.
He said it's a gel rant special tonight on this podcast. And Joe, do you know what? That's why people tune into this pod to listen to you rant, mate. If it's not you, it's Philpott. One of you is having a rant about something. So there we are. Quinton's comment. It's a gel rant special. But so yeah, Paul says it's the rule. But Joe, you can't argue with that, can you? If that's the other way round, and it's a Tottenham player scores with his arm, you want it ruled out, don't you?
Well, hang on a second. Let's just turn around and read what's on the screen now. Gary Lineker said the law is wrong. Oh, he's an ex-Spurs player.
Don't get me wrong. It's a stupid rule, but it's
no. I get it. I get that it was, but it just seems to be. There's a different way every week to rule a goal of ours out.
Yeah, it's what it feels like, doesn't it?
It
really does feel like that.
It really does, yeah.
So, where we could have been 2-0 up at this stage, we're still 0-0, and we're quickly approaching half-time. But do you know what I like about this team? I really like about this team. In fact, I love about this team. And the reason they do this, it's Glasner that's instilled this into them. They never give up. They never let their heads drop. It's easy. They could have been easy to let their head drop when that one's ruled out. They don't let their head drop. And they just keep playing. They keep to the system, keep doing what they've been told to do. And sure enough, it pays off, doesn't it? 45 minutes in, and we score the goal. Again, a beautifully worked move down the right-hand side. Sarr plays it around the corner to Munoz again, who again almost looked more offside this time than the Mateta one. But he wasn't. He wasn't. And he held his run, and he pushes it across to Eze in the 6-yard box. And Jill Holyoke, you could have scored that one, mate. It was on a plate for him, wasn't it? Absolutely on a plate for him. No one's near him. He puts the ball in the back of the net, and we're 1-0 up. And as everyone said, the commentators and everything I've watched thoroughly deserved. That's an understatement. It should have been 3 or 4 by then. It really should have done. But at least we went in 1 up. They did have a half a chance to equalise before the break. A Porro free kick went just over the top of the bar. Never really threatened. I'm not sure Dean Henderson got his kit dirty all afternoon, did he? He really didn't.
That was the only dive, I think, the legit dive that he did. Yeah,
do you know what? I don't think he did. And, I think we worked more of a sweat up in the away end than he did in goal, that's for sure, So we go in 1-0 up.
Ian, can I ask you, what were the scenes of that first goal? What was the scenes in the away end?
Yeah, pretty good. Yeah, I mean, we celebrated, but you don't like to celebrate too much, do you? I don't celebrate too much anymore because I've seen too many goals ruled out.
But even for that goal on the big screens, it came up checking goal. I mean, it's becoming impossible to celebrate a goal properly these days because, like you say, it's just like the minute you celebrate and then you look at that and you say, oh, might be off again. It's crazy.
But, and you sort of get a little second celebration because when it's given and we kick off, it's a little punch of the air, isn't it? But, because it was so one-sided, because we were so dominant, and because we were so much better than them, it didn't really feel much. It felt because of the heat as well, it did have an end-of-season feel to it, this game, didn't it, Paul? It really did.
Yeah, as I say, it was so one-sided. I mean, it was almost embarrassing for Spurs. I mean, I know it's a good time to play Spurs. Let's be honest. Even if it was their full time, it's a good time to play them. But they did rest a few players, so I was quite confident before the game that we were going to win. And the way the first half went, it did pan out. And when you've got no opposition attacking you at all, as you say, it's quite hard to whip up an atmosphere. But we did that. We were singing about Wembley and obviously getting behind the team and all that. And it was as good as we could have done, to be honest. It was a great half.
Ian Donald, the best part of the day was the halftime sing-song on the concourse, so loud. Yeah, absolutely. Joe?
Just going back to, people saying it was loud. I can assure you on TV, it wasn't loud. It felt like that the effects mics weren't on. It literally wasn't. It was a real shame because you could see. Well, we all know all the Palace, the fans were singing after the goal, but believe me, I've heard it louder there, and it just seems that the effects mics weren't on.
It's not easy to make a noise in that ground when there's only 3,000 of you, even if you're on the top of your game, because it's such a massive stadium. But there we are, and I love the way that Eze celebrated the goal. It was a bit like Muttley, wasn't he? Laughing away. I don't know what that was all about, but it was really funny. And it pissed a few people off, I think, but it was really amusing.
I think it was probably more of a this one's got a third time lucky more.
Totally. And look, we started the second half as we ended the first, didn't we? They had a little spell up, but we broke. The ball broke to us, and it was Eze that carried the ball half the length of the pitch before he puts this wonderful ball through to Ismail Sarr on the right-hand side, who again ran with it, still had a bit to do himself. And I think he had a lucky break of the ball. I don't know if anyone else saw this. He tried to sort of cross it, and it bounced back to him off the defender, and that gave him the opportunity to put the ball square across for Eze to again just glide it in. And again, Paul, you could have scored that one as well. It was, he didn't have a lot to do. He just had to hit the target, which he did beautifully. And it was a marvellous moment, because we've often said when we're 1-0 up, we need the second goal. And of course, when you get the second goal, you say we need the third goal. But we definitely needed the second one. And it did sort of take the pressure off a little bit when that one went in so early in the second half. Joe, anything in the chat you want to refer to? Give me a little break from speaking.
Well, I mean, Keith Parker says, I'll just start from at the very end of the last comments, but Keith Parker said, it was a little bit of luck, but we deserved it. Claire Davis, hello Claire, nice to see you in the chat. Tottenham we can't say that, I'm not allowed to swear. Paul Bristow, didn't mention you before, sorry Paul. And then he said, our second goal was celebrated without the fear of VAR, but only for those back in their seats, which was laughable. The ground was shockingly empty, but then if you're a Spurs fan, beer is definitely the better part of the football, I imagine, at half time.
Certain Mr. Saunders missed the goal. He was still getting his half-time cup of black tea or something.
People needed a drink at half-time yesterday. It doesn't surprise me at all.
There's
refill stations and stuff, but it was. I was not surprised that a few people.
But just getting back in, another shout out. I didn't see his come up earlier, but Adrian Marchbank, PR66.
Hello, Paul.
He's also, Paul, dear. Okay.
Yeah, can you just hold on a second on PR66? Paul, my sincere apologies. It's not just me that's got access to the Twitter account. I know Ian has as well, but nobody has responded to your private message. I do apologise. Mate, thank you for your message. I did read it in detail. I hope you're well, buddy. I hope your sickness is getting better.
Apologies.
Okay. Ian Donald, Steve Jupp, and obviously, as he's already been mentioned, Quinton Soldan. And he says, any more ranting from myself, better ring Nurse Teresa. There are worse ways to go out.
There we go.
Right, anyway,
go on the football. Jean-Philippe Mateta is not getting the minutes. One of the things that Glasner is doing, he's picking a strong side, but the first player he pulls out of the starting 11 is Mateta at the moment. He didn't quite make the hour mark. I think he was withdrawn on 59 minutes yesterday. But before he was taken off, he had a really decent chance. And the ball's fed through to him on the right-hand side, almost just past the halfway line. And he had a huge amount to do. And he carried the ball almost half the length of the pitch before he got his shot away that was saved. But, another day, he finds the back of the net. Richards was on long throw duty yesterday. There was one occasion where he threw it in right in front of the away fans, and the Spurs defender did a nice little flick on, nearly scored an own goal. which would have been entertaining. Resulted in a corner. As I said earlier, Henderson didn't get his kit dirty. The Spurs crosses, they had 2 or 3 in the second half from the right-hand side in particular. There was one where they should have done much, much better, and they missed the target and never really threatened our goal at all. Eze had a free kick, Sarr had another shot. So, with the second half was a little bit of a letdown. As I said right at the beginning, Glasner said last 20 minutes, we were just sort of hoping the game could see the game out, really, at that stage. Chilwell came off the bench, which was good to see him get some minutes for Mitchell. And he had a cross that came off Sarr, was pretty close to a goal, just sort of came off maybe brushed his head or something like that. But I think he might have been offside anyway. And then Tottenham brought Son off the bench. I didn't realise he hadn't played for about 5 weeks, Son. He is clearly their main talisman now that Harry Kane's left. And he had a chance that the Lacroix did really well to block. And I think, when you get a defender that can get back and make blocks like that late in the game, when really you haven't had a huge amount to do yourself, is a credit to him. But I think, again, he might have been offside in any event. Kamada gets some minutes on the pitch. He put a ball into Nketiah, who headed over. And then Guehi fed Nketiah right at the end. And it was a lovely ball through. And he beat the offside trap. And he really should have done better. Apparently he's never scored against Tottenham for Arsenal when he was an Arsenal player. And he still hasn't scored against Tottenham now. So full time, 2-0, and very, very comfortable indeed. And if we got the end of match stats, you can see that we dominated completely throughout. And I think the telling stats here are 23 shots on goal and 10 of them on target. 8 corners to their 4. We absolutely bossed that game from start to finish. And 2-0, absolutely flattered Spurs. Bit embarrassing, really, for them if you're a Tottenham fan, but good for us. And the only thing that mattered was that we got the 3 points, and we enter this week, which we're going to talk about now, as we lead up to the FA Cup final in the right frame of mind, in a positive, we're full of confidence, which is what it's all about. Nick,
thank you very much, Ian, and well done, buddy. Well done. As I'm sitting here talking to you now, 73 minutes gone at Selhurst Park, and we are getting absolutely battered in a 1-1 draw at the moment. Southampton are all over Palace, and it's very one-sided at the moment. It's all up our end, unfortunately. So that's in the Premier League 2 playoff semi-final, and it's live at Selhurst Park as we speak. You're probably watching it on your phones as you're listening to us. The under-18s, their season is over, and a little bit of controversy for the women. As we know, the women got relegated on Saturday the 10th, the English Women's Super League at the Joey Stadium. Man City beat Palace 5-2, and Palace led twice in that game. And since this match, the Crystal Palace have confirmed that the manager, Leif Smeared, will depart the club. Chairman Steve Parish said Leif joined us during a challenging period, and we are grateful for his contribution and his professionalism, and he has shown at the club, and we wish him every success for the future. Now, it would also lead to me to think, did they jump too quickly with Laura? I think Laura Kaminsky was highly thought of, and she was obviously a very good coach. I think it's simply down, personally, I think it's down to lack of investment. They didn't really support her in the close season. They were always going to struggle. We said from literally match day 1 in the Women's Super League, Palace are going to have a difficult season, as it's proved to be the case. On the loan sheet, on the loan watch, another clean sheet for Owen Goodman from Wimbledon, who won 1-0 at Notts County in the first leg of their playoff semi-final. Rob Holding came off the bench in the 81st minute. Remember Rob Holding, everyone? There's still a player there for Sheffield United in a 3-0 win in the first leg of their semi-final at Bristol Rovers. And James Rakasaki was not in the matchday squad for that. But my understanding is that right, boys? He is in the matchday squad tonight.
Yeah. Nick, can I just come in and talk about Owen Goodman for a moment? Because Wimbledon won 1-0 away in that first leg of their semi-final. And he made one outstanding save. It was really top draw when he had to get down low to his right-hand side. And I think whether it was on my own Twitter or the red and blue one, I can't remember now. but I retweeted it. It was fantastic. It really was a good bit of footage. And I think out of the two of them, I'll be interested to see what others think, whether Joe Whitworth or Ryan Goodman's the better keeper. Joe Whitworth's been playing at a lower level, hasn't he? It's League Two, whereas Goodman's, is that right? No, the other way round. Joe Whitworth's been playing at a high level.
Joe Whitworth's at Exeter.
But I think Owen Goodman, for me, is probably the better keeper. And is he ready to be a backup in the Premier League? Question. He certainly looks the part. And whether you're playing in League Two or whether you're playing in Premier League, if you get a shot right down low to your right hand side, you've got to save it. It's probably not dissimilar. There's not a lot in it. I'm not going to say that Premier League shots are they're probably harder to save than League Two ones. I'm talking rubbish now, but you know what I mean. Paul, help me out.
Well, it's always been the age-old debate. I mean, when a team gets relegated, footballers think, I'm not going to play for my international team anymore. And then people have always said that shouldn't really count for a goalkeeper because, like you say, a 25-yard shot in the top corner is the same whatever division you're in and stuff like that. So, I mean, if you're playing well at that level, then you probably could be a substitute goalkeeper in the Premier League. It's whether you then want to. We had that with Whitworth a few years ago. We threw him in for a couple of games, didn't really work. I know it was a baptism of fire. He played Brighton and Arsenal, but I mean, until he gets tested, you're never going to try it. And it takes a brave manager to throw a young goalkeeper into the Premier League like that.
Yeah. And my understanding, and I'm not going to go into details on what I know and how I know, but my understanding is we could potentially be losing Joe Whitworth very shortly. Joe, anything from the chat, Big Ben?
No, only some little quips by Quintin that's keeping me much amused. Rob Cranfield said he'd give Goodman another season on loan at a high level before putting him as backup for Hendo. I'd be a bit gutted to lose Joe Whitworth. I mean, he made his debut against Brighton. You don't get much more pressure than that. He never let us down. I just it's a little bit. Just a few people saying that they're going to struggle. Someone was coming down from the northeast. Christopher Thompson says driving down from Wembley from the northeast, won't be there till about 2:30. That's really leaving it a bit late to try and get parks. I think not enough time for box park. Are Palace fans still going to the Green Man pub? You guys might be. I know we got the box park, Wembley box park, but I imagine is the Green Man City or is it Palace?
I think we got both. I'm not certain, but certainly the majority of the fans will be meeting at Covent Garden as they did last time for the semi-final. And if you've never experienced Covent Garden as I did, and my God, it was really my good God.
You look like you're leading a choir or something there.
I didn't even know the camera was on me, and that picture was actually taken off the Palace main account, and that's how embarrassing it got sent to me, literally from all over the planet. That picture got sent to me. Anyway, talking about the FA Cup, God, Joe.
I just got some more stuff in the Leon Saunds. Said my brother's a Spurs fan, not heard from him. Haha. My brother's a Spurs fan, Martin, and I strangely haven't heard from him for a while as well. So we're both in the same book there. And going back to Quintin, this little chuckle, more clever than anything, about the ladies' manager getting the bullet. He said Leafs never like the fall, which I thought was quite clever. So I think I'd say the other thing as well. I think we'll probably boss all the areas around Wembley, Palace. I know personally two people that can't get tickets that are going. They won't buy off of touts because they don't want to get ripped off.
Well,
they just want to sample the ambience of being there. It's much like the Scousers and Man United when they turn out, it's 5,000 or 10,000 outside. So James Convey said Green Man is a Palace pub. It's most of the chat now is about. That's all right. It's Quintin again. Most of the chat is about where people are meeting and that's it really. Green Man's
okay.
Pub, said James.
Well, look, moving on to this week's FA Cup final. Crystal Palace are at, ladies and gentlemen. The Football Association have confirmed that the honour of officiating at the 2025 FA Cup final between Crystal Palace and Man City has been handed to Premier League referee Stuart Atwell. Accompanying Mr. Atwell out on the pitch at Wembley Stadium for the final is experienced assistant referee pairing of Adam Nunand and Robert Dan Roadbottom, I think he says. They've given the reserve assistant referee to Craig Taylor, and the VAR hub and video assistant referee is Jared Gillett and Darren Canning. Most of these people, I don't even know who they are. But
I thought you were going to say Darren England then.
No, not Darren England. Paul, what do you know about Stuart? What's our record like with Stuart?
Well, I know he's one of the idiot refs in the Premier League. I mean, I saw that last week he was doing that, and I watched him officiate the Bournemouth Villa game on Saturday night, and I texted Ian saying, this is not looking good for next week. He was shocking. He's one of those who just he falls for everything. If they fall over, he'll give a foul. And yeah, I mean, he probably is a bit of a big club man. I don't particularly rate him. But yeah, whoever we got, we'd be probably saying exactly the same thing, to be honest. So it's we're going to have to do it without the help of the ref anyway. So yeah, let's just hope they don't play too much of a part in it.
He sent the Villa lad off, didn't he, against Bournemouth for second yellow, which was a yellow card. I think the first one was the debatable one. So a little tug of the shirt, that kind of thing, like professional foul, he'll spot those for sure. Which I suppose is a good thing. You know, you want him to do that. He's probably one of the more experienced referees that hasn't done a major tournament that referees in the Premier League.
You're saying, boys, you were saying that you were concerned about let's hope a referee doesn't make an error and it doesn't come down to a mistake from the referee on Saturday. Is equally concerned that it's a VAR mistake or an automated offside, judging by what we saw at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium yesterday. Anyway, so I'd like to know, going around the table, Paul and Ian, what are your plans for Saturday? In the chat, I'd like to know what your plans are for Saturday. Where are you going? Where are you heading? How do you intend to spend the day? And more importantly, assuming we get a positive result, how are you going to spend the evening? Ian?
Should I go first? Well,
yeah.
I'm a little bit superstitious, not quite as superstitious as Paul is, I'll give you that. But I'm going to try and keep as much to my routine as I have for the semi-final for this coming Saturday. So that started with a breakfast in the best cafe in Upfield called Aroma Cafe, and Fergus and I were meeting in there. Now, it doesn't normally open till 9 o'clock, but because we want to get the 9:30 train, we've arranged for them to open half an hour early, especially for us, which is great. So we've got the cafe open early for us. Nice big fry up, line the stomach for the day. And then we're off to Charing Cross. There's a pub round the corner to Charing Cross. Forgive me, I can't remember what it's called. I know exactly where it is. We went in there for a couple of Guinnesses last time, so we're going to do the same again. Head up to Covent Garden. Didn't see you last time, so I'm going to make sure I avoid you this time as well. And then we're going to get the Bakerloo up to Marylebone, and the sports bar in Marylebone is brilliant. Now, I should be keeping this a secret, really, because it was fairly busy for the semi-final, and I don't want it too mobbed, because then I won't be able to get a beer easily. But the team were in the hotel opposite, so we had a chance to see them and give them a clap and send them off on their way on the coach. So I don't know whether they're going to be staying at the same hotel again. They may be, they may not be. So, but that's the routine, and then you get a train from Marylebone through to Wembley Stadium. It's 10 minutes on the train, one stop, and nice little gentle walk to the stadium about an hour or so before kickoff. That's my plan, anyway. And
is yours the same plan, Paul?
No, mine's a different plan. But as Ian says, I'm a very superstitious person, so I'm going to be reliving the semi-final day, basically, which started with a McDonald's breakfast. I then bought a pack of 4 Kit Kats and 3 Orange 12s from my travelling group. We'll be trying exactly the same sweets again, and then we'll be picking. I'm going with my dad and my 2 nieces. We're going to pick Yaz up, and we're going to drive up to the ground that we did before, park in the same car park that we did before. If I can get the same space, even better. And then we'll go to TGI's, probably have lunch in there, and then go in the fan zone, have a drink, and then as soon as it's open, we'll get in and start proceedings, start getting the balloons out of the pockets, and praying and fingers crossed.
Well, my arrangements are exactly. I'm doing exactly the same as you two. Superstitious, of course. I was wearing you just saw it in that picture that Nigel put up. I was wearing my vintage yellow Brazil top, and I will be wearing that again for the final. are getting the 909 train from Colston South in, goes all the way into St Pancras, where they do a great breakfast in the Spoons inside the station complex. And it was really good. Meeting up with all the boys, meeting up with all the lads. Yeah, go on, mate.
I just seen something in the chat. Our friend Ian Donald said he's going to buy the wine gums. I bought a pack of wine gums before the Leicester game in January, and I've taken them to pretty much every away game since, and a couple of home games, and they're unbeaten. So I've said to the guys, if we, I'm taking them obviously on Saturday. If we were to win, then I'm framing those wine gums. So
Straws and clutch.
And listen, when he flashed the wine gums at Arsenal, this is the in joke. He said to me, "Yeah, do you want a wine gum?" I said, "Yeah, okay." And literally, there was about 7 left, and they were all green. Every single one of them was green. What's that about?
As long as they're not sky blue, eh? As long as they're not sky blue. Go on, Joe.
Richard Harvey, he just said he's getting drunk. So no change there, Rich.
Getting drunk with me.
Yeah, Aaron Mears in the chat. Hello, mate. Welcome home.
Good day.
Boys, just landed and got back to my location.
I was just about to read that out. I was literally just about to read that out.
But yeah, I mean, there's a lot of. So Quentin said he's going to be home alone in Norfolk with his TV. Tempted to go to Covent Garden for the atmosphere and then watching a pub.
Oh, you should do. Definitely. If you haven't got a ticket, go to Covent Garden.
You should do that. And when you get down there, Quentin, come and find me because we've never met. Okay. And
Monty 1964 said I got my lucky wristbands, Burnley 1970 to 1980.
Can I just jump in there, Joe? Monty's still wearing his lucky pants from the 1979 Burnley game. He's still wearing the same ones.
Davey Campion has said, "Are people wearing the same tops from the semis?"
Yes.
There's a lot of people. Yeah, see, that's the thing. You don't want to break the. You don't want to break things up. And then Mark Callahan says, "And if we lose, I'm just going to smash the house up."
Right. Okay. Now. Instead of talking about violence, we've got the last 10 minutes. And I want to know, I now want you to put yourselves in Ollie's shoes. You are now the tactical genius. Okay. I want to know, go on, Paul, before I make my point.
Yeah, well, it's just talking about the start of the game. I mean, so we're going to come on to it now anyway. Quite an interesting thing. I was talking to the guys yesterday en route to Tottenham and everything. Obviously, everyone saw Man City's result the other day, drawing with Southampton, couldn't score against them and everything. And I think it's what could be quite a nice thing for us is with Newcastle winning yesterday, if Chelsea and Villa win on Friday night, they're playing the reserve teams of Tottenham and Man United, then City will start the day on Saturday in 6th place, outside the Champions League places. Now, Pep's gone on about the Champions League being the be-all and end-all this season. So if that was to happen, which, as I say, with the 2 matches on Friday, I think that's probably quite a good thing for us, because he might have to have that in the back of his mind.
Absolutely.
Really
Aaron Myers, I know you're watching, mate. I sent you the link earlier today. You got 2 minutes to find that link and get on and tell us about your journey back. Nigel Croucher is our producer this evening, ladies and gentlemen, and as always, doing a wonderful job. Nigel's also coming down from the northeast, so it's a safe journey down, buddy. For wherever you're travelling around the world for the game on Saturday, please be safe. Go on, Joe.
Rob Cranfield said, "I don't fit in my 1989 to 1990 Bucks shirt no more. Little bit skin tight." I can't see City turning up and not putting out their best side. I know Haaland is sort of fit-ish and he's back. They'll play their best side regardless. I mean, listen, can you imagine the stick that they would get if they turned up and used that as a training game? The rest of the world. This is what I watched the link yesterday, and for the Tottenham game, Australian link, and they said that from an Australian point of view, the FA Cup is the biggest cup game or one of the biggest cup games in the world. You look at the European Cup, because they're not going to call it anything else. European Cup, the World Cup, the FA Cup. It's one of it's in the top at least 3 or 5 for most people. Everybody, the world will be watching, and and as we already know, most of the world will want us to win. But it's important, and City won't see. I cannot imagine.
I don't think Paul's saying they're not going to try it and put a good team out. I think they're going to put a decent side out for sure. All you're saying, I think, Paul, is they've got other things on their mind. If they start the day in the Premier League in 6th place outside the Champions League places, they'll have that in the back of their mind as well. That's all I think you're saying, isn't it?
Partly that, but I also do think he will prioritise the league. He's come out and said winning the cup would mean nothing if they don't get in the Champions League. That's their be-all and end-all. And it wouldn't surprise me. They've got 3 games next week, which could all be very important to them. He rotates anyway. He'll say whatever side he puts out should win the game. But it wouldn't surprise me if Kevin De Bruyne didn't start, for instance, if that happened, because 3 games in a week is too much for him. He won't want him to miss his last home game against Bournemouth. It's going to be his last ever match at the Etihad. So it wouldn't surprise me. I mean, he's played the last 3 games and stuff. So he's got Foden to come in. He's got all these players. So it wouldn't surprise me. That's all I'm saying. But yeah, they're obviously going to try and win. I'm not going to say they're not. But I'd rather be playing them when they've got an eye on that than when they've guaranteed their Champions League position and can just go solely for that match.
Okay, I'm going to hold you there. I'm just going to give you a latest update from Selhurst Park. They're in extra time in 92nd minute, and it's still 1-1. The game has evened out a lot more than it was earlier. It's still 1-1. I presume it goes to extra time and penalties, does it?
It must do, yeah.
Okay, so I was about to ask you a question 5 minutes ago. And by the way, ladies and gentlemen, out in YouTube land, I am aware that I've got 106 unopened messages on my screen right now that I haven't seen. I promise you faithfully, I will go back and read each and every one of them post-show. So thank you for all your contributions this evening. Thank you for all your content. Yeah, it's your show. That's what this is all about. Gel's sitting there reading them as we go, but I'll have a look at them after the show. It's now up to 108. So thank you very much. Right, boys, you're now in Oliver Glasner's mind, okay? I would like to know, how do you think he's going to actually play this on Saturday? Tactically, what have we got to do to get a positive outcome on this game? Ian, I'm going to come to you first.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's said already a couple of times recently that it's too late to learn something new. Yeah? So he'll play the game like we've been playing our Premier League games, like we played yesterday, like we played against Forest, like we played against Arsenal, like we played against the semi-final. He will put the best side out that he can, of course. And by that, the selection dilemma for me will be the central defensive midfield pairing. I think everything else sort of picks itself. Munoz and Mitchell wing-backs, Lacroix, Gahey, and Richards centre-backs, and then obviously Henderson in goal. But Adam Wharton will obviously play if he's fit, and he said he had a 90% chance of playing. I'll come to who's going to play with him last, and then obviously Sarr, Eze and Mateta. As for that final place in the side, I think he picks Kamada. I think Kamada is the kind of big match player, and he proved it in the semi-final. Big, he's used to playing in his international stadia and that kind of thing. He can run with the ball, and I think he will get the nod over either Hughes or Lerma. I think if Wharton doesn't make it, we might see the pairing that he started at Tottenham.
Ian, can I just ask you one question? And then, Joe, I saw you had your hand up. I haven't forgotten you, mate. I see John Lyons is out in the YouTube land. John, good evening to you, mate, and to your family. Ladies and gentlemen, what you don't know, and you newer panel members, without John Lyons, we might not even have a Red and Blue review. He was very generous in the early days of when we came over from Red and Blue News to Red and Blue Review. John, we're sending you our love to your family, mate. Ian, you said you had a dilemma about the central three, the back three.
No, I said about the central midfield.
Central midfield.
Right, okay. Back three bits itself. So it's that. So if Wharton's basically it's this. If Wharton is fit, it's Wharton and Kamada. If Wharton isn't fit, I think maybe it's Hughes and Lerma. That's what I think. But I might be wrong.
Thank you, mate. Joe, you had your hand up, and now I'm coming to you, Paul.
Now go on, Paul.
Yeah, I think I had to say, Ian, I think spot on. I think we'll play the same team we played against Villa. As I say, if Wharton's not fit, then I imagine it will be Hughes. I wasn't sure about Kamada in terms of he didn't have the best game at City recently. But I think the way he played in the semi-final and other games, I think you just got to, the semi-final team did the business, and I think he's going to set them out exactly the same team in the same way if he can. I think in terms of tactics, we've got to be brave and run at them. They're not the quickest back line in the world. And Sarr's pace and Mateta's, he showed his pace in there. I think just we got to not give them time on the ball, just not let them settle and spray it around the back and sides and all this sort of stuff, and be on them just like the Villa performance. So if we play like we did against Villa, then we've got a great shout.
Yeah, absolutely.
Joe, I'm coming to you next. Ladies and gentlemen out in the chat, I would, because we're coming to the last 5 minutes of the show, I would like you to start, please, putting your predictions in the chat right now. What will be the final score? Who will win the cup? What is your predictions? Take your red and blue tinted glasses off and let's be sensible and let's have a look at it. And we're going to read a few of them out before we close the show. Joe, you wanted to make a point, mate?
Yeah. So the thing, if Wharton's got a 90% chance of making it, then he starts. What we can't do is have him as sub in case he breaks down after he comes on. So I think he starts. For me, I think he has to start. And then, I think him and Hughes are too alike. I don't know. See, I've absolutely slated him the early part of the season, but as everyone has said, Kamada he is a big game player, and he is now fitting into, he's getting used to everything. I think he's fitting into Glasgow's style at Palace. So I think it will be Wharton and Kamada, and then the days of us having to play defenders in midfield and forwards in midfield, we've got an abundance of players, and no one's even thought yet that we've got Devaney. I mean, I just think I honestly think he's got an old head on young shoulders. For me, he's got such great energy to come on for the last 10, 15 if we need him. Plus, if we need it, obviously they're going to get City time, so you can always prepare yourself for a 96 to 97 minute game. But yeah, I mean, there's a part. Do you want me? Shall I just go through quickly through the? Go for it.
I'm reading them. Go through the screen.
Okay, so it's first one. Tim said we're going to win 2-1. Richard Harvey said 5-4. And Mark Allen said Munoz could be the man who gives us the edge, and I think you're absolutely right. Monty 1964 said 1-0 us. Ricky Hobb said 4-2 Palace. I'm thinking big score as well, mate. A lot of goals in this game. Rich C 3-1 to us. Gary Clark 3-1 to us. Philip John Davids 2-1 to us. Ian James Appley 2-1. Rob Cranfield 2-1. Tom Samuel 2-1. Jordan O'Day 2-1. Everyone's going 2-1. Steve Twain 2-1. Joan Wells will create history while winning the cup 2-0. Paul McNamara has said 2-1. Claire Davis said 3-2. Palace, Keith Barker said 3-1. PR66 2-1. So Damien Aldous said 2-1. Quinton Solden 3-2. I'm thinking you could be right there, Quinton. 3-2, 4-2. I'm thinking someone said 4-2 earlier. I did read it out. Robert Lay 2-1. Palace in the 90 minutes. Nathan Bird 2-1 after extra time. John Knox said 2-1.
What about you, though, Joe? Let's have yours.
Yeah, I'm thinking, I think it'll be a loads of goals. I think 3 or 4-2. But I do think we'll win. I really do think we'll win. I just feel, as I used to say about Tim Hemden, I think it's our year. I do think it's our year. And listen, of all the teams that have played in the FA Cup this year, I think no matter what, I think we have been the best side. If we win, the best side will win the FA Cup this year.
Okay, thank you. Just to let you know, full time at Sellers Park, going to extra time, it was a 1-1 draw. So at the end of this, we're going to be off the air in 2 minutes. And by that time, the second half of the extra time will have started. Ian Noble, your prediction for Saturday, please.
I am going with Joan Wells and Steve Jupp. And if anyone else said the same scoreline, I didn't see it go through the chat. I apologise. 2-0 in 90 minutes to Crystal Palace is my prediction.
Thank you. And I notice I've now got 173 messages on my screen, unopened by me. I will go back and read them post-show, I promise you. Paul Gear, the master.
I wish Joe had said Andy Murray because it did actually pan out for him in the end. Tim Edmund, it never did. But it's. But yeah, it's just I'm just listening to hearing Joe say he thinks we're going to win. Seeing all these people saying we're going to win. It's just putting the butterflies in my stomach because I just can't even get my head around thinking of that. But it's too hard to predict. The dream is I've just got a feeling 2-0 to Palace. And it would just be heaven.
And that little reference that you said there, you just put up on the screen there. Sorry, Nick. That's what I was thinking about earlier when I was. But again, Oliver Glasner said, after that 5-2, that will not happen again. You won't do that again. Like, just for me, it just fills me with such confidence.
It's like a Mexican wave out there tonight, boys. Right, Ian Noble first, and then Paul Gear.
Let Paul go first.
He's dared Pep to change his system, hasn't he? Because he said to him, "If you play that way again, we'll solve it." And so he's sort of put him under pressure to make the change, which I think psychologically is great. So yeah, it's going to be as much of a tactical battle on the bench as well as on the pitch.
Quinton, I'll have your babies at the end of this 2-0. I want to meet this Quinton bloke. I want to meet him. He's funny. Guys, listen, I've been to every FA Cup tie, apart from Millwall when I was on holiday in the Canaries, right? So that was a reasonable excuse for not being at Selhurst that day. And at each of the games, including Wembley in the semi-final and including Fulham in the quarter-final, I wasn't nervous once. I was cool. Now, for a league games, I get nervous. I'm on edge. I'm on edge all the time. I wasn't nervous once in these games. And hopefully I'll feel the same way on Saturday. And for that reason alone, I think we're going to win.
Thank you, mate. I'm going to give you my prediction, ladies and gentlemen. Get your money on, lump it on what Nick Philpott is going to say to you. So I believe that Adam Walton will score his maiden goal for Crystal Palace at Wembley this Saturday. Okay, I really strongly believe that. Assuming he plays, he will score for Palace at Wembley. I also believe that Eze will then go on and score the winner. Okay, so my prediction is 2-1 home win. My concern, and that's the good news, the not so good news, my concern is when would be said trophy presentation or parade take place? Because I think I'm on holiday when it's going to happen. Paul Gear, do you have any update on that before we close?
Just logically speaking, I imagine it would be on the bank holiday Monday after the Liverpool game. They can't do it the day after the game because obviously they've still got to play Wolves 2 days later, and it would be too quick to organise. So I'm guessing if they're going to do anything, I imagine they would do it on the bank holiday Monday, I'd guess. But I can't think about that.
Final word going to Joe Holyoke.
Just quickly, the Liverpool game. Let's just say that we do win. Are we going to take that up? We will obviously have to give them a guard of honour. They've had it 3 or 4 times already this season, but we give them the guard of honour. Will Gay be standing before them with the FA Cup or at the end?
So we have to give Liverpool a guard of honour. Do they have to give us a guard of honour for winning the FA Cup?
But will we take that with us? How good would that be?
But what it is, of course, which is really interesting, I don't know if this has ever happened before, but if we win the FA Cup, that final league game is a dress rehearsal for the Charity Shield or the Community Shield, wherever it's called. Has that ever happened before, Paul Gear? Do you know? You probably don't.
Well, I mean, I think it's only happened twice before where the FA Cup final wasn't the last game of the season, so they're the only 2 times it could have happened. And well, okay. So the last league game, then the guys go on and win the final.
You do realise I'm trying to wrap this up 10 minutes ago.
Yeah, no, you can hold on a minute. So I've got another question. If we do win, will they dare drive the bus through Croydon?
They won't be able to get it through, will they?
No, you can't drive a bus through Croydon. That's a ridiculous thing to do. But they might drive it round somewhere else, like South Norwood. I don't know. But I don't care about that. I don't care about that. I just want to win the bloody thing.
Okay, listen.
All I do is win
hold it there. So, Stop, ladies and gentlemen. There's going to be 40,000 Palace fans. Don't forget your red and blue balloons. If you're going to Covent Garden, please don't forget your bin bags. I want you to be safe. I want you to enjoy every single second. This is potentially history in the making. Always said in my lifetime, 2 things would never happen as a Palace fan. That A, we would build a new stand at Selhurst Park, and B, we would win a major piece of silverware. Well, bugger me. You never know what's going to happen this weekend. If you are going to Wembley, wherever you are watching the game in the world, Enjoy, savour every second. Boys, thank you very much for joining me tonight. Nigel in the background, I can't do it without you. We will be back on Sunday the 18th at 8 o'clock. Okay. We will be parading our own bit of silverware, I hope. Okay. On behalf of me, Nick Philpott, and this magnificent team, up the Punters. Get that silverware, bring it home, Punters. Come on! Good night.
Go!
Night, guys. Wembley.
Wembley.